know that Warren, 81.5 billion with a B of Warren Buffett's $84.5 billion came after his 65th birthday. Today, we're going to unveil the true power of compounding interest and the reason why the first thing we teach is long-term thinking. And we're going to provide you with the knowledge that you can recession-proof your money. No matter what happens in the near future, we can help you make that safe and controlled and guaranteed for your family. Founding Fathers, Jason Sipple here, and I'm here to address the power, the uninterrupted power of compounding interest. Like Einstein said, once you understand compounding interest, you either use it or you give it to somebody else, you lose it. And I'm going to show you why he calls it the eighth wonder of the world. And we're going to explore some of the mathematical parts of it. And we're going to address the psychology, because when it comes to it, our psychology around money is what's really holding most people back. Not the people here, but most people back. So if you're liking what you see, go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so it gives you a little ding every time some new content is released. And we're going to talk about, like I said, we're recession-proofing our money today. We're going to talk about different vehicles, not just the power of infinite banking, but I'm going to show you some other vehicles, because it's always about leverage when we're learning this philosophy. So, like I said, I have the slide of Warren. We're used to seeing if rich people would do what poor people would do, they'd be poor no more. But this is the power of what Warren's done. And really, there's over 2,000 books written about him. And the one thing that they don't talk about enough, or they don't really highlight as the superpower, is one, Warren's curiosity, and two, it's time. Time is a secret weapon. If Warren, who started investing at 10 years old, would have just done the normal things in his 20s and started investing a little later, did everything else the same, and got to 60 years old and be like, yeah, I'm done with it. I'm fishing. I'm having my McDonald's for breakfast. I'm no longer concerned. I'm no longer concerned about growing my fortune and doing what I love. And I'm just going to stop. How much money? Pop in the chat, pop it in the chat below, pop it in the window. How much money do you think Warren would have if he stopped doing what he was doing at the age of 60? Shocking. Any guesses? What's the best guess? All right, I'm going to tell you then. $11 million. You would never have heard of Warren Buffett. No one would write 200 plus books about him. But the secret to the success, his secret sauce, some might say, was in time. And time is also the secret in compounding. And what does that require? It requires a different kind of thinking, long-term thinking. So that's the thought-provoking piece I want to bring to you guys today is, what does compounding, true uninterrupted compounding interest look like? What does it look like mathematically? How does it apply to our lives? And how does that make us recession-proof? How does that make us recession-proof? I believe that the guiding questions that we have, the power of the questions we ask ourselves, is what changes our lives, because it's all about patterns. It's all about pattern recognition. Here's a quick side story, side teaching. You know, I'm working with some different professionals, a kinesiologist who's a chiropractor, who's an elite athlete. And he tells me about a story of another athlete that he's working with who had a really messed up their knee, ended up needing a total knee replacement. And after the replacement, what do you think happened? Do you think the limp went away? You know, this person had been limping for a few years, had a total knee replacement, no pain, but the limp continued. Why? Because in his mind, he was still compensating and did not want that to hurt. So our body's avoiding the pain. It's the same with our money. It's the same with our money. So some of our guiding questions are, first, really sitting down, finding a place, and setting that big vision. What do you want to ultimately happen? And don't put any restrictions on it. Like, what would you want? Because you fast forward to the end of your life, and we're just here for a snap. We're here for a moment. So if you could fast forward, pop it in the chat, pop it below. I want to hear what you guys dream about. I want to hear what that big ultimate vision is. What's it look like for you? That's your first question. This is something that I want you to revisit often. And then number two, a big question is in every scenario, it's really looking and saying, who's in control of your money? Who's in control? Is it you? Or have you rented something that you're paying money for a period of time that someone else is in control? And then the third question is your money protected? Is your money protected? Is it safe? Is it someplace where it's backed and you know that wherever you're storing it, you're not putting it and burying it like Dave Ramsey would suggest in a coffee jar or a coffee can out in your yard, because that's really smart to do with inflation and everything else. And can you access the money? Is it liquid? Do you have access to it? And then finally, how can you take $1 and turn it into two? How can you multiply it? Because at the end of the day, money, if we're following the laws of nature, right? The first law that Newton talked about was an object in motion tends to what? Pop in the chat. You guys know, what is the first thing about motion? Same with our bodies. If we're not moving our bodies, if we're not exercising and walking and using our joints, what happens? We lose them. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. It's the same as our money. Our money must stay in motion. So how do we multiply the money? How do we put that lazy money to work? Because it don't need to sleep. We got to sleep. We got to repair. We got to rebuild ourselves. And so we want to make sure that we have that money. So now we're going to do this experiment. You guys may have seen this before, but every time it gets more and more exciting to me. So please, this is interactive. I want to hear your thoughts. Again, if you're liking what you're seeing, make sure that you're subscribing to the channel, you're smashing that like button and clicking that little bell. But we're going to go into this fun would you rather. And if you know the answer, go ahead and blurt it out anyhow. Just be the person that knows that feels good sometimes. But would you rather have a penny that doubles every single day for 31 days, or $1 million, and I added this little part, tax-free today? This made for a heated conversation in one of our huddles, because a lot of my teammates were like, man, with that $1 million, I bet you I can multiply that through the system, through this so many times. So it's a really fun exercise. But if you're looking, I'm going to show you the chart. So we got the penny from Frank, penny from Felix. Awesome, guys. You might have seen this before then. So it is the power of exponential growth. And if you really look where the penny is, where you're seeing right here. I thought you guys were already seeing this. So you have that penny. It's not like you're losing. Like the $1 million looks like a better bet for the first day, the 10th day, the 22nd day, the 25th day. You get out to day 26, you're still behind. Day 27, you're still behind. Day 28, all of a sudden, that doubling puts you ahead. You get to the end, you have 10,737,418.24 That is the power of uninterrupted compounding interest. And when does it happen? Like Warren's life? It happens later. It happens with patience. It happens with understanding that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. From here, we're going to look at the 3 factors of compounding interest, right? I want you guys to understand that it's not just the time, even though that is the most powerful element. That's the third thing we have here. But what are the other things we have to look at? It is the interest rate. Like, how much is it doubling? Like that penny is doubling every day. There's not many things or anything I know of that your money's going to double every single day and not have massive risk. So remember, at the end of the day, what's Warren Buffett's first law of investing? It is don't lose money. And when he says, hey, what's my second law? Well, it's refer to the first law, right? It is don't lose money. So we're looking at the interest rate. That's the first key factor of compounding. The second one is, what's the frequency? Is it compounding daily, weekly, monthly, annually, semi-annually? Like, where is it compounding? And then the time that it remains uninterrupted. And as you're going to see in some of the recession-proof vehicles we're about to dive into, and if you guys know, pop it in the chat, pop it down below. I want to hear what your takeaways are. Remember, every single one of these trainings, when we're talking about the infinite banking concept, we're talking about how this is a philosophy. This is a fundamental lifestyle change in your life. I want to hear what you think is working for you, what's not working, where are you getting stuck. Communicate. The more we can communicate, the more we can see where the friction is for this concept. Because remember, it is riding a backwards bicycle. And so the three key factors, again, just to go back through them, it's interest rate, it is the compounding frequency. How often is that doubling and compounding? And then the time it remains uninterrupted. Because if it's interrupted, what happens? It goes back to the zero line, which is the definition of the rat race, So what are 5 different recession-proof vehicles? And I'm going to show you a graph to compare them to that you guys would guess. What would you say? Now, you know we're here to talk about, but think about some of the other vehicles where you could put your money and feel pretty secure that that money is going to work for you and instead of, working for somebody else. So here we go. So our 5 vehicles, I put them all on the slide so you guys can see one at a time. So annuities, a great answer, Felix. So recession-proof vehicles, a high yield savings account. I looked this up. There's accounts right now that'll offer you 4.35 to 5.25%. And one of the things I didn't realize, did you guys know? And pop it in the chat if you knew this. Give me a yes, give me a no. Did you know that in a high yield savings account, even though it's paying a higher interest rate, you're not always able to spend that money. You don't have absolute liquidity. I thought you did. I didn't realize that money has to be in there. And why is that? Just think about why. Always ask yourself, I didn't add this to my questions, but what is your money doing in that particular moment? Well, if the bank's paying you 4.35 to 5.25, if we know how the banks move money, remember the law of motion, the law of nature, banks understand this. And this is why we're mimicking what banks do in our teaching. But banks are making 400 to 1,300% on every dollar you put in there. So paying you 4%, paying you 5%, who's winning right there? And then the second one, a bank CD. Now to get the highest rates, the 4.6 to 5.2%, you have to have $100,000 minimum most of the time to put in there. So is it secure? Yes. Is it a certain period of time where you're going to make that percentage on your money? Yes. It's a decent little chunk of money as well. So that's another way. And then great point. Frank just made a great point, which we'll get to. And with a mutual company is the next one. Now, this is tied to the market. You're going to have, things going up, things going down, but mutual funds just take it a big collection of different things in the market. And they're really what's happening is the same as compounding. There's 1 or 2 things that are driving the whole fund forward, and they're just kind of spreading all their eggs out so they don't have all their eggs in one basket. Next is going to be your treasury security, which we're basically lending the federal government money. And we're saying, hey, whether the duration, whether it's a T-bill or a T-bond, it just depends on what that'll look like. And one of the things, we didn't talk a lot about recession-proofing our money, but Chris Nagel, my partner, talks about this all the time, where he talks about the inverted curve is usually the thing that we're looking at, that about 80% of the time it tells us if a recession's coming. And we've been inverted for a little while right now. This is something where you're looking at the treasury bills, T-bills, it's 5.51% for 1 month, but 10 years is 4.09%. That's inverted. Like the longer we give the government the money, the more return we should be getting, but for whatever reason, it's lower. And all 4 of those vehicles, which we're going to get to on the next one, but your 5th vehicle is your specially engineered whole life. Okay, so these are just some options. I want people to know there's other options than what we teach with infinite banking. And we're going to show you, it's always about not what's right or wrong, but what's more optimal. What's the most efficient place to put your money? Because remember, it's all about the feeling we get. Do we feel secure? Do we feel like we're in control? Remember, founding fathers, it's all about creating that freedom and knowing that we're creating security, control, and more opportunity for our family and future generations. So let's look at the next the little slide together, right? So here's kind of your pros and cons with this. So we have, you go through, do we have liquidity? And you see you have liquidity, high yield shouldn't be liquid, but there's no liquidity with a bank. That money's locked up. You can take it back out, but you're going to get penalized. Mutual funds, same thing, tied to the market, but not fluid. Treasury bill, T-bond, locked up, money prison. And then you got your specially engineered whole life. That's what the SE is. So liquidity. You got your compounding. You guys read, they're all compounding. You control, you're in control. You can take them in, you take them out. You're in control, even though in the bank situations, the bank is using your money to make more money to be able to pay you that spread. Just remember that. Is there any penalty? Not for the high yield. For the bank CD, there is. If you take it out sooner, there's going to be a little bit of a penalty. Same with the treasury bill. There's no penalty on the whole life. So that chart needs to be updated a little bit. The guarantee. The bank guarantees, the treasury bill, the mutual fund tied to the market. It goes up and down. It's like your home. It appreciates or depreciates. There is no guarantee. High yield savings, they can change that rate at any moment. There's no contractual guarantee that's for a certain period of time. It's going to fluctuate. It is tied to the prime. And then our specially engineered whole life, that's guaranteed contractually. That is one of the best things about what we help people with, is every single time we can say, yes, it's a guaranteed growth of X, and it's on your contract, and it'll be like that for your whole life, which is defined from the today until the day you're no longer here, till you graduate to the next plane. And then the tax-free growth. So like Frank pointed out, all of the other vehicles are all taxable growth. Do we really want to be taxed on our growth all the time? That really pulls away. So if you're making a higher rate of return, but you're taxed, well, then are you really making a higher rate of return? What is the yield on that? Okay. And then finally, the only one, if you look, the only one that's giving you all of these things in this recession-proof vehicles, it's giving you compounding. You're in control. There's no penalty. It's guaranteed growth. It's tax-free growth. And there's a cherry on top, which I didn't add, but there's a cherry on top, the legacy piece. All of those are checked in your specially engineered whole life. So now we're going to go and we're going to look into a little bit deeper into a specially engineered whole life. If you guys got questions, pop them in the chat. I know I'm going through a lot of different things, but this is from our spreadsheet master, another one of my partners, Craig Yenny. And this just shows you, this is a simple, I didn't do anything extravagant here. This is just a $10,000 annual premium deposit, which can be paid monthly. Remember, we're trying to keep things as simple as possible. We're trying to make sure that you guys are asking yourselves the questions. Who's in control of the money? Is the money protected? Is it growing tax-free? And do I have liquidity of the money? Those are some of the questions you want to start looking at whatever vehicle you're using to store your money. And so with this, it's a $10,000 a year, $10,000 dump in, meaning you're overfunding it a little bit. Then we're going to look, if you go to the projected cash on cash return, you're going to look, it takes you a few years, but by year 4, you have over 100% cash on cash return, meaning you put $1 in or $10,000 in, you can borrow more out. And by the time we go to year 10, you have 172% return, meaning you're putting $1 in, you can borrow out $1.72. You go to year 20, you put $1 in, you can borrow out $2.60. And that is this is with a company that hasn't missed a dividend in 124 years. And so if you think about that, it's not guaranteed, but if you knew that your money's secure, if you knew that your money's growing in your left hand, and simultaneously, you can use that same dollar in your other hand to go out and pay off debts, to buy your cars, to go on vacations. Is this making, raise your hand if it makes sense to you. Does it make sense that you can take your money, put it in a vehicle where it's uninterrupted, compounding for the rest of your life, for your whole life, and you can use that same dollar? So you're saving in your left hand, your money's never touched, and you're borrowing someone else's money in your right hand to leverage that, to collateralize, to borrow against your money, and now you're putting it to work. So if you want to go into the other vehicles, to treasury bonds, T-bills, to mutual funds, whatever it is, why wouldn't you have it growing in your guaranteed bucket here? and use that same dollar in your next hand. That's super, super powerful, right? This is the, and then, like I said, don't forget the cherry on top. Look back here, you've put in a couple, $100 and some $1,000 and you have $500,000. Year one, if you graduate and everything's, above board, like it's nothing, like the insurance company looks into it, your family's receiving $464,000 and you've put 20 into it. So people say you can't buy your legacy. What are they talking about? You absolutely can. You absolutely can guarantee it's having vision. It's understanding, again, the rules of the game we're playing. It's understanding uninterrupted compounding interest. And I love walls of number like this. Love it. I'm fascinated by it. But that's not what drives us forward. It's the feeling of security. It's the feeling of control. It's the feeling of knowing that among all the chaos, among all the prognosticators that are saying, a recession's coming, the sky is falling, it's all over, we're going to lose our shirts again, people are going to lose their jobs, like all of those things, it is something where, how do you protect your family against that? Founding fathers, how do you make sure that you feel strong, that you feel secure, that you know that things are going to be okay because you have a philosophy that you're practicing? So what are some of the takeaways? Pop it in the chat, pop it down below. Again, what are your takeaways? What made sense? What are you going to apply? And remember, just the laws of nature. Remember the principles. Money in motion tends to what? I can hear my buddy Joe in the back of my head saying, it makes more money. So if your money's sitting in a savings or a high yield savings account or a money market or a mutual fund, that money, is it making you more money? Are you able to access it? Are you able to use it in your life? Your need for financing is always going to outweigh your need for death benefit or really anything else in your life. And then who controls your money matters most. Who's in control of the money? If someone's paying you a spread, you have to understand that they're also putting that money in motion. So we want to know, what is the game we're playing? And time. Remember Warren Buffett. If he retired at 60, he'd be worth $11 million. There wouldn't be 2,000 books written about him, and you wouldn't know who he was. And I wouldn't be quoting him all the time as one of the wisest, sagest investors of all time. My belief is Warren's so successful because he's curious. He's willing to make a lot of mistakes. Berkshire Hathaway, if you look at their collection of stocks, there's only a few winners that have made them so successful. The majority are dogs. The majority are ones that didn't pay out. And so you have to understand the game you're playing. And why wouldn't you, if you're going to go invest in stocks and other things, have your money someplace where it's uninterrupted, compounding, and forever? And remember, the infinite banking concept is a lifestyle. It's a change. It's like committing to changing a habit for the rest of your life. Like, I'm going to work out every day, no matter what. I'm going to walk every day. I'm going to be grateful for someone or something in my life every day. I'm going to meditate every day. Whatever the thing, your thing is, it is that kind of lifestyle change. It is a change. It's a philosophy. It's something to be applied. And as I love to share, I got this from Ryan Holiday. It's the first time I read this quote. If not you, then who? And if not now, when? When? So what's everyone thinking? Other thoughts, other questions I can address about uninterrupted compounding interest. We saw, would you want a penny or $1 million tax-free? That's a penny that's doubling every day. You want the penny. It's over $10 million in 31 days. Warren Buffett, if he didn't keep going after age 65, he'd be worth $3.5 billion versus $84 billion, right? So the difference is astounding. So we have to have some patience. We have to think long term. We have to stop being such in a rush to buy things, to be consumers, and start picking discipline over regret. And this is just not preaching, just kind of sharing some of the self-mastery it takes to really make that change that you want. So wherever you are in your journey, again, Founding Fathers, appreciate you guys being here. Smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and hit that bell. And if you're building your wealth, meaning you're going to turn your debts into assets. We can help you with that. You can go to my website, you can book a call, learn more. If you're looking for your lifestyle to buy your cars, to send your kids to school, to college, to private schools, or maybe you owe Uncle Sam some money through your business and you'd rather have that money compounding forever before you give it to Uncle Sam to use to build more roads and do the things Uncle Sam's going to do with your money. Why wouldn't you want your family to make money on the money first? Remember, it all starts with loving ourselves just a little bit more every day first. And finally, we want to create more wealth by putting your little green men to work. And that's the third phase of mapping out the millionaire mystery. So again, blessed you guys are here. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Until next time. Oh, by the way, next week, be here. We're going to go over with Craig Yanni. The spreadsheet master is going to blast away your debt. So do not miss that. It is coming. It's going to be fun. And it's next week. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Till next time.